Hey everybody, welcome to a running edition of Ask North Arrow. Hey, our question today is, how do I plan out my race calendar for the upcoming race season? So, perfect that we have Coach Casey here. He's gonna lay that out for us.
That's a great question, and I think a lot of people could answer that question a lot of different ways. So it depends on how hard you want to race some of your races.
Okay.
So if you're somebody that is trying to Boston qualify, or make it to Kona, or win a particular race, you're gonna have to set that up as your A race, and you don't want anything to, get in the way of being fully prepped for that race.
Right.
So if you are running a marathon in May and you want to Boston qualify, you shouldn't be running anything silly leading up to that. I like to plan the race schedule with safety, balance, and sustainability in mind.
Right. You certainly don't want to wear yourself out.
Yeah.
If you really got a big, your big one coming up.
Yeah. And I would argue with somebody that if they think that they can run a half marathon every other weekend and have a great time, I would disagree. You could be having better times if you were to spread that out and not be racing on top of each other so often.
Right.
Now, you could say you're getting ready for a marathon. You're obviously every weekend going to be running over 13 miles for quite a number of weeks leading up to that race. So you could do all sorts of half marathons. If you like going to races, sign up for 10 half marathons.
Right.
You're just not going to race them all.
Right.
You just can't do it. What I would tell you to do is, when you're maybe 8 to 10 weeks out from a marathon, you could put a half marathon there and use it as a tune-up race. See how you're feeling, test the waters.
That makes sense.
It's going to keep you much healthier, much less prone to injury when we're not, racing a marathon every month.
Yeah.
And I see people do that. They have a race calendar and they're running 3, 4, 5 marathons in a summer. And I guess here's the thing, if you're not racing them as hard as you can, and you're just enjoy race day and you're jogging at a reasonable pace, you probably can pack a number of events in. Yeah, but if you go out and you're running as hard as you can at a marathon, you need some time to recover. I always land on the side of scheduling a few less races and having them be really good quality.
Sure.
Now, if you're doing a lot of smaller stuff, if you love racing 5Ks, you run pretty hard at a 5K and probably do it again, maybe not the next weekend, but the weekend after. I mean, you can really pack a race calendar full of 5Ks.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have them every single
And they
week.
have them every weekend. Sprint triathlons, you can pack a number of those in every other weekend. You could be doing something. Kind of the general rule of thumb I use is at an event, for every mile you run, you need a day to recover.
Okay.
So if you're running 26 miles, you need about 26, 27 days to recover.
Yeah.
For triathlon, I just add a little bit extra. So if you do like a half Ironman, normally say for a half marathon, you'd have 13 days of recovery, 13, 14. Maybe for a half Ironman, I'd say 17.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean you're not working out. It just means you're reducing workload, reducing intensity.
Right. Let your body recover.
Yeah. Just so you're not doing a ton of work when your body's in a fatigue state. Now again, there are people that could do a half Ironman, and if you're not racing it as hard as you can, you're just out enjoying the day.
Right.
You might be recovered in a week.
Right.
Ready to, maybe then do an Olympic race or a sprint or, hop into something else. So depending on how hard you're racing, depending on your current fitness level, those will play a factor. Don't do something like schedule a half marathon 5 weeks from a half Ironman. That's tough because you have to ramp your run up a little bit more ahead of schedule than you would for the race. And then you're going to recover from it a little bit in time to ramp up again. But again, it depends on how you run it. If you want to go out and jog that thing at zone 2 or pretty easy,
Right.
you might recover in 2 days.
Right.
So,
Well, it sounds like the intensity of what you're doing kind of determines like how much you should pack in or not pack in.
yeah.
That's what I keep hearing, the underlying.
Yeah, so if you look at like guys that win marathons, like these Kenyans that kill it, like, you know, Eliud Kipchoge, I think he does 2 marathons a year.
Oh.
That's it. Greatest marathon runner ever, arguably. Does very little racing.
Right.
Because he's racing so hard that he's got to really prep for a great race. And then it takes, you know, I bet he spends 30 to 45 days in a recovery state.
Sure.
Whew. My arm is getting tired.
Well, hey guys, if you have any more questions for Ask North Arrow, submit them to asknortharrow@gmail.com. And hopefully this video wasn't too bouncy for you.
It doesn't look bouncy, but I'm bouncing.
Trying to do something a little different today, so hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.